Part 11. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 101. Nan Yan's leisurely smile, in Nwao's eyes, was like a demon. She was so vicious. She actually used such a despicable way to force her to help her whitewash and discredit herself. Nwao gritted her teeth, and almost tasted the taste of rust in her mouth. Finally, she lowered her head in humiliation. I will do what you said. You must keep your word and delete all those photos. It depends on your performance. Nan Yan glanced and saw Lulahua walking towards her in high heels, and the expression on her face faded. She didn't want to communicate with Lulahua. She was worried that she would not be able to help herself and use the original owner's body to do something that would be punished by heaven. She coldly left the sentence and turned away. In order to avoid Lulahua, she took a long way around. Lulahua had seen Nan Yan and Nwao together from a distance, and his already gloomy face became even gloomier. God knows, when she heard Yao Yao call and said that Nan Yan was called to the office for cheating, and also organized gambling in the school, which was of bad nature and might be persuaded to drop out, she was already furious. This is her daughter. How could she be so naughty and so unbearable? What's the use of such a bad child even if she has a talent for computers? She can do such things in school. She has been living outside for some time, and God knows what she has done. Lulahua was full of anger and was about to catch Nan Yan and scold her. As a result, before she went over, she saw Nan Yan leaving. She also deliberately walked in the opposite direction of her, not wanting to meet her. Lulahua was so angry that her eyes went black, and she could hardly maintain her image as a lady, and screamed, Nan Yan, stop right there. Nan Yan wanted to pretend that she didn't hear it and just left. But then she thought that Nwao had just agreed to tell Lulahua all the bad things she had done to deceive the original owner before. She couldn't leave. At least, she had to listen to Nwao to restore the original owner's innocence before she could leave. Nan Yan came back directly. Nwao's nerves, which had just relaxed, tensed up again when she saw Nan Yan coming back again. You, what else do you want to do? She cried in her voice, and tears quickly rolled down her eyes. Her nerves were about to collapse. Nan Yan, you dare to bully Yao Yao. Lulahua instantly became a mother hen protecting her cubs, strode over, stood in front of Nwao, and roared angrily. Nan Yan rubbed her ears polluted by noise, raised her eyebrows and asked, Nwao, did I bully you? Nwao met her gaze, subconsciously trembled, and hurriedly shook her head, no. No. But her cowardly and aggrieved appearance, in Lulahua's eyes, was the appearance of being bullied by Nan Yan. At that moment, she felt distressed and angry, and her anger filled her head. She raised her hand and hit Nan Yan. The students who were watching saw the situation here and ran to the office to call the teacher. The rest of the people had already imagined that Lulahua's hand hit Nan Yan's pretty face. One by one, they couldn't help but exclaim. However, the scene they imagined in their minds did not happen. Nan Yan pinched Lulahua's wrist, and her delicate and beautiful features were covered with a layer of frost. You keep stretching your claws at me, do you really think I have no temper? Lulahua's anger was dissipated by Nan Yan's cold gaze, and his back couldn't help but feel cold. Then he reacted, his face was blue and red. You are rebellious, why don't you let me go? Let you go, Nan Yan curved the corners of her lips, okay. After saying that, she let go of Lulahua, and then turned around and slapped Nwao in the face. The onlookers heard this loud slap, and instantly felt that their faces hurt. After beating someone, Nan Yan rubbed her hands carelessly and sneered, if you raise your hand to me once, I will slap Nwao. It's not impossible. Lulahua's eyes widened, and he screamed out of control, Nan Yan. Nwao was stunned by the beating. She even forgot to cry as she covered her face. She stared blankly at Nan Yan, who was indifferent and murderous. She finally felt real fear in her heart. This is a lunatic. She must be able to do what she said. Mom, don't blame Yan Yan. It's all my fault. Mom, I deserve a beating. Don't blame her. Nwao's face was swollen and red. She grabbed Lulahua's hand and shook her head and cried. Lulahua's heart-ached tears fell. Yao Yao, what nonsense are you talking about? She hit you, and you still explain for her. The late dean of teaching and the head teacher were overwhelmed when they saw this scene. Hashtag. Nanyan, Nwao, and Lulahua were invited back to the office. Before anyone spoke, Nwao caught Nanyan's half-smiley eyes and quickly grabbed Lulahua's hand. Mom, it's all my fault, I did all those things. Lulahua looked confused. What? Nwao simply closed her eyes and spilled all the things buried in her heart, like a bamboo tube pouring beans. In addition to the dean and the class teacher, there were also teachers of various subjects in the office. A group of people were forced to listen to Nwao talk about the bad things she had instigated Nanyan to do in the past 2 years. The expression was hard to describe. Lulahua was confused at the beginning, but later, his face turned livid. Yao Yao, what methods did Nanyan use to force you to take all these on yourself? She looked at Nanyan's expression as if she was looking at an enemy. Enemies with deep hatred. She didn't believe that her good and sensible daughter would do these things. All the bad things were done by Nanyan. She is a bad child from the bottom of her heart, there is no hope. Nwao broke down and cried, Mom, it's not Nanyan, it's all me, it's really all me. Don't blame Yan Yan anymore, it's all my fault, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Lulahua hugged Nwao distressed, anxious. Okay, Mom won't say anything. Yao Yao, let's go home. She stubbornly believed that Nanyan must have threatened Nwao to make her say these. With Nanyan around, Yao Yao would definitely not dare to tell the truth. And she couldn't continue to ask like this. At that moment, regardless of the attitude of the teachers, he pulled Nwao out. This. The dean felt that he was almost numb. How thick is the filter of this MRSN? What Nwao said was not clear enough. Even the motive for the crime was clearly stated. She just didn't want Nanyan to be favored, didn't want her to be liked by others, and deliberately framed her. Why did MRSN still think that it was Nanyan's fault? Nanyan, how did you endure these 2 years? The head teacher felt even more distressed for Nanyan. Nanyan reached out and patted the head teacher on the shoulder, saying indifferently, I used to have expectations for family affection, so I was willing to endure it. Now I don't care, so I don't have to endure it anymore. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 102. After saying this, the teachers in the office immediately felt more distressed for Nanyan. Several older teachers, even full of maternal/paternal love, said directly that if there were any problems in the future, they could come to them directly. Nanyan looked at these concerned eyes and felt a little overwhelmed. Should she tell them that, in fact, she didn't care about the Yan family's attitude? But then she thought that the teachers had already preconceived that she was a poor little girl bullied by the Yan family. They probably would only misunderstand her explanation as pretending to be strong. Forget it, let's do it this way for now. Hashtag. Nanyan came out of the office and returned to Class 4, Grade 2. The classmates in Class 4 had different expressions when they saw her. Most of the girls were gloating, thinking that this time they would definitely make Nanyan drop out of school. The man who had just recognized her as the boss was hesitant to speak, wanting to ask what was going on. But seeing Nanyan's overly cold and stern expression, without any sadness or sorrow, as always, he was stunned and stopped thinking. Some people should be more conscious and leave school on their own, otherwise they will be expelled and lose face. Lu Rongrong sarcastically said, I forgot that some people actually have no face at all. Pa. As soon as she finished speaking, Nan Yan walked to her side and kicked her with her leg. Lu Rongrong's desk fell down directly. The books on it were smashed everywhere. The fallen table also crushed her feet, and she screamed in pain, "Nan Yan, what are you doing?" Nan Yan smiled a wanton and bright sneer, casually grabbed her collar and pulled her up. "I should ask you what you want to do. Provoke me, who gave you the courage?" Lu Rongrong was so scared that she was stunned. She couldn't understand why Nan Yan had the courage to fight with her even though she was expelled from school. Nan Yan slowly tightened her hand, watching Lu Rongrong's face turn pale bit by bit, licked her rosy lips, and her unruly eyes were filled with intimidating coldness. "Some classmates still seem to have an unclear understanding of me, thinking I am a clay Buddha without temper. No. They all think she is a ruthless Rakshasa." For the first time, Lu Rongrong felt that she was very close to death. Nan Yan's hand grabbed her collar, and the collar strangled her neck fiercely. She couldn't breathe, and the air in her lungs became thinner and thinner. And her pale face began to turn a deep red due to lack of oxygen and congestion. The classmates around saw the scene and couldn't help but want to stop it. Nan Yan glanced over coldly, and immediately sat down in their seats. I was wrong, let me go." Lu Rongrong was so scared that she didn't dare to struggle. She grabbed Nan Yan's hand with difficulty and begged bitterly. This time, she was completely scared. From now on, she will never dare to go against her again. This is not a student. This is clearly a devil. Nan Yan looked at her red face and kindly loosened it a little to let her breathe. "What's wrong?" "Ahem, I shouldn't say that to you, shouldn't mock you, I won't dare to do it again, woohoo, ahem." Lu Rongrong apologized and cried. "Don't, school is boring anyway, it's fun to bully you." Nan Yan loosened her collar, patted her face a few times, and smiled, "Keep working hard next time, classmate." "No. I won't." Lu Rongrong was so scared that she even forgot to cry and shook her head desperately. If she dared to make trouble for her again, she would be unhappy. Nan Yan left a cold sneer, returned to her seat, took out a wet towel, and wiped her hands carefully. Lu Rongrong cried and lifted up her desk. The classmate next to her looked at Nan Yan and didn't pay attention to the side, so he went to help her pick up the book. It wasn't time for class yet, but the classroom was quiet without any sound. Many people were in the private group, sending messages and chatting. Talking about Nan Yan. While chatting, he looked up at Nan Yan from time to time. After all, Nan Yan saw Tian Tao's phone last time, and they were warned again. This time, they were much more cautious, especially not saying bad things about Nan Yan. Just discussing whether she would really be expelled from school. "Actually, we were the ones who proposed the bet, so it's not her responsibility, right?" The first person who spoke for Nan Yan appeared in the group. The screen was blank for a while, and after a while, someone sent a message again. "But cheating is always her fault. And, the reason she cheated was probably for the money we bet. Otherwise why did she think 1 million was too little and asked for 10,000 for a place? Maybe, she was too difficult, but she has such strong esports skills, why doesn't she play in the game?" The topic was quickly diverted to the game of different paths. At this time, Nan Yan's phone vibrated. She took it out and took a look. It was a message from Anziran. "Anziran, Yan, the competition will start in half a month. We need to officially announce the participating teams and players. Do you mind telling me your name?" Nan Yan, "Yeah, I don't mind." Anziran, "Then I'll post on Weibo." Nan Yan looked at the emoji he sent, curled her lips, and tapped the screen with her fingertips. "Yeah." Among the people chatting in the group, there were loyal fans of Anziran's team. As soon as Anziran posted a Weibo, they received a prompt and hurried to check it out. After seeing the official announcement of the players, they immediately turned their heads, widened their eyes, and asked in disbelief, "Boss, you joined the AEG team and will play with Lingfeng Si Xiao." His words were like a bomb in the quiet classroom. "Who said that?" The boy looked at Nan Yan and said, "Just now, Lingfeng Si Xiao officially announced the players on Weibo, and there is a name you can choose at will. This must not be a duplicate name." Immediately, someone went to check in Ziren's Weibo. Seeing that there was indeed this name on it, they were all excited. "Boss, is this true? Boss, please let me know." The boys in the same class screamed and wanted to be hammered. Nan Yan was annoyed by the question and replied with a word. "Ah. It's my dream to be in close contact with professional esports players. I'm so excited. Boss, please sign. When the time comes, I must go to the scene and cheer for you." "And me?" Nan Yan looked over with indifference and said expressionlessly, "You are very noisy, be quiet." They have been very restrained, okay. If they were not afraid of her, they would have surrounded her long ago. But Nan Yan spoke, they didn't dare to bother her anymore, and excitedly swiped the screen in the group. Just when they were excited, the bell rang. This class was the class of the head teacher. "Classmates, about Nan Yan's grades. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss." Author, Junanan. Chapter 103. We have checked Nan Yan's grades. These are her real grades. She didn't cheat. The teacher's words made the classroom, which had just quieted down, boil again. "Oh my God, can you make a comeback like this? Boss, you are so amazing. 666. Boss, you are so amazing." A deliberately low voice said, "How did you take the test? No matter how you make a comeback, it won't be so exaggerated. Yes, the questions in this exam are not simple, covering a lot of knowledge points. You can't make up for it all at once if you want to make up for it." After all, after Nan Yan's violent suppression, few dared to openly oppose her. The person who raised this question was indeed very curious about how a person could complete the jump from a poor student to a top student in a short period of time. Nan Yan was in the office, and teachers from several subjects gave her questions on the spot. She answered the questions on the spot, and she got full marks on all the questions, just like her test scores. She performed very stably. You don't have to question her results anymore. As for why she got such a bad score before and why she got such a good score this time, you need to ask her herself. The head teacher explained how they determined Nan Yan's results, and then said earnestly, "So, everyone should learn from Nan Yan in the future. In the last year or so of high school, work hard and strive to get a good score in the future and get into the university of your choice." In addition, the dean and I have also talked to Nan Yan about the bet between you. At this point, the head teacher's tone became serious. "You, all of you, apologize to Nan Yan. As classmates, you have no right to force a student to drop out. What's more, Nan Yan is such an excellent student." A boy stood up first and bowed to Nan Yan to apologize. "Boss, I'm sorry." Then, another boy stood up, "Boss, I'm sorry." Soon, the classmates in the class stood up one by one and apologized to Nan Yan. Even Lu Rongrong said "I'm sorry" under pressure. The head teacher asked puzzledly, "Why do you call Nan Yan the boss?" "Because she is very good. She is the first in the grade in the exam, so she is naturally our boss." There are still some students who react quickly. If the head teacher knew that they called Nan Yan the boss because she was good at playing games, he would probably get angry again. If it was changed to because of academic performance, the reason would be much more justified. So that's how it is. The head teacher nodded in understanding. Since you all think she is the boss, then you should learn from her in the future, and you are not allowed to exclude her or cause trouble for her for any reason. Get it? The classmates in the same class responded in unison, got it? The bet is void. Nan Yan, what do you think? Nan Yan didn't care, listened to the head teacher. She had guessed that this would be the result. After the school knew about it, they would not let the bet go on. The head teacher couldn't help but like her a little more when he saw Nan Yan's cooperation. Hashtag. During the break, a rare scene appeared in Class 4 of Grade 2. A group of people, who did not go outside, all surrounded Nan Yan. Everyone looked at her with admiration, but they didn't dare to speak to disturb her, so they could only watch. Nan Yan was annoyed by being looked at, but they didn't say anything, and she couldn't get angry just by looking at her. She simply closed the book and left the classroom. In the last class left in the morning, she did not come back, but went to the computer classroom. Nan Yan had this privilege before. As someone who was going to participate in the computer competition for the school, she could spend more time practicing in the computer classroom. Moreover, Nan Yan ranked first in the grade this time, and she got the first place with nearly full marks. The attitude of teachers in various subjects towards her was much more relaxed. She really knew everything, and she didn't have to stay in the classroom to learn the knowledge she already knew. Hashtag. Computer classroom. Nan Yan came in and found that there were already people here. Yin Yuchen looked up from the computer and saw that it was her. His face suddenly darkened. Why are you here? I came here when I wanted to, do I need to tell you? Nan Yan was too lazy to pay attention to him. After replying this sentence, she found an empty seat and took out her notebook. Yin Yuchen gritted his teeth and clenched his fists when he saw her arrogant appearance. Remembering that his classmates had told him that they had seen Nan Yan bullying An Weiao with their own eyes, he stood up suddenly and walked towards her. Nan Yan, Yin Yuchen was furious, who allowed you to bully Goddess An? Nan Yan had just turned on the computer and saw him coming over. She raised her eyebrows, An Weiao's flower protector. Yin Yuchen stiffened his neck and said angrily, I tell you, don't bully Goddess An in the future. Her kindness doesn't mean you can bully her. Don't think that I won't beat you just because you are a woman. If I hear that you bully her again, I will really beat you up. Yin Yuchen pointed at Nan Yan while speaking. His finger almost hit Nan Yan's face. Nan Yan directly pinched the finger he pointed at and twisted it in the opposite direction. The teeth-grinding sound of bone dislocation, accompanied by a scream, scared Zhou Shaija, who had just entered. What are you doing? He strode in. My hand, my hand. Yin Yuchen cried out in pain, and the look he gave Nan Yan was almost murderous. Nan Yan, I'm going to kill you. The entry point to computer competitions is hand speed. His hand is now broken, how can he participate in the competition? The overwhelming hatred made him forget the pain, and he waved his intact hand and hit Nan Yan. Zhou Shaija had just come in and didn't understand the situation. But seeing Yin Yuchen, a grown man, attacking Nan Yan, he certainly couldn't just watch. He hurried over to stop him. However, he didn't give him a chance to stop him. Nan Yan sat on the chair without moving, and her slender hand easily pinched his waving hand and turned it back again. There was another tooth-grinding sound of bone dislocation, mixed with more miserable cries of pain. Zhou Shaija subconsciously pinched his arm. Team leader Nan, what's going on? Nan Yan let go of Yin Yuchen and spread her hands innocently. I also want to know why he bothered me as soon as I arrived. Ah! My hand is broken, my hand is broken. Yin Yuchen was still screaming. Zhou Shaija frowned. Even if he was reckless, team leader Nan, you broke his hand, didn't you do it too hard? We are a group and will participate in the competition together in the future. His hand is broken now, which will definitely affect the subsequent training. How can he participate? Before Zhou Shaija finished speaking, Nan Yan had already picked up Yin Yuchen's hand. Click, click twice, twisted all his dislocated parts back to their original positions. After finishing it, Nan Yan warned slowly, "Forget it this time, next time you mess with me, be prepared to break your hand." Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 104. Yin Yuchen's scream stopped abruptly. He moved his hand subconsciously. It doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't hurt at all. If the cold sweat from the pain was not still there, he would have thought that he was hallucinating just now. "You, don't think that I won't bother with you just now." Nan Yan looked at him calmly with her fists clenched. "Then how are you going to bother with me?" Yin Yuchen subconsciously felt pain in his bones, and hurriedly took 2 steps back to leave a safe distance. Nan Yan sneered and said slowly, "If you want to fight, you should be prepared to not participate in the competition. I will not show mercy when I fight." Yin Yuchen shrank his neck and was scared. Zhou Shaija quickly played the role of peacemaker, laughing, "We are all members of the same group, if there are any misunderstandings, just talk it out. If you are so hostile and have conflicts within the group, you will lose half of the chance in the future competition. We all want to win the prize and be recommended. Don't let these trivial things affect our strength." Nan Yan hooked her lower lip without comment, looking at Yin Yuchen with a smile. "Student Yin, what do you think?" Yin Yuchen met her playful and evil eyes, and a chill instantly ran down his spine. He quickly lowered his head and avoided her sight. "I'm sorry, I was reckless this time, I apologize, and this will never happen again." Betting on his recommendation quota for a fight is definitely not worth the loss. He can only bear it now, and it won't be too late to get back at the game after the game. As for Goddessin, Yin Yuchen gritted his teeth in annoyance. Between his dream and the object of his admiration, he chose his dream. "Okay." Nan Yan nodded, "I accept your apology." She casually placed her hands on the open laptop keyboard and entered her account password. "Don't bother me here, go and do your own things." Yin Yuchen breathed a sigh of relief and hurried back to his seat, hiding himself behind the display screen. Zhou Shaija saw that Nan Yan was not very impatient, smiled casually, and returned to his place. Hashtag. After school, she returned to her residence, put down her school bag, and prepared to cook. Shen Junking's call saved her from cooking again. After changing clothes, Shen Junking called again not long after. He went downstairs. Nan Yan took the phone, took a baseball cap and put it on, locked the door and went downstairs. Shen Junking put his arm on the steering wheel and discussed with her in a casual tone, "Sister, let's eat first, and after dinner, I will take you to see the person who tampered with my car." "Okay." Nan Yan had no objection. After eating in a private restaurant, Shen Junking took Nan Yan to one of the many places where he, the third young master Shen, stayed. Opening the door and walking in, Shen Junking tilted his head and said to her, "You also know that person?" Targeting me, Nan Yan quickly realized what he meant. "Sister Yan Yan, you are so smart." Nan Yan raised her eyebrows and said insincerely, "Then I'm sorry, I almost got you into trouble." She offended many people in her first 2 racing. She also robbed too many people of their interests. It's normal for someone to want to kill her. However, the other party is too bold, and even wants to take Shen Junking with him, except in these races, she and Shen Junking will be in the car at the same time. If there is an accident, the biggest probability is that both will die, and it is difficult for anyone to survive. A hint of hostility flashed in Nan Yan's lowered eyes. If you want to kill her, you must be prepared to be killed by her. Hashtag. Liang Qian is in a very bad state at this time. Her body was tied up tightly. She had not changed her position since last night, and no one had come. She had not even had a sip of water for a whole day and night. She was starving. Her body had been tied up for a long time, and her blood circulation was blocked, and she was almost numb. She also shouted at the beginning. But no one paid any attention to her. Later, her voice became hoarse, and because of lack of water, her throat was about to smoke, so she could not shout. When her nerves were almost broken, the closed door finally opened. She raised her head with difficulty, wanting to see who brought her here. As a result, when she raised her head, she saw Shen Junqing and Nan Yan. It turned out to be you. Nan Yan did not expect that it was her. You are very brave. Third Master, I don't know, what is she talking about? She wanted to squeeze out 2 tears, but the lack of water made her unable to cry at all, so she had to pull out a hoarse and ugly voice and howl, I feel so uncomfortable, can you let me go? She has always been able to get along well with men and has never been bullied. This day and night almost tortured her to death. She was not beaten, but in her current state, she would rather someone beat her up. Why do you do this to me? What did I do wrong? Shen Junqing looked down at her and kicked her with his toes. My car, you tampered with it? I didn't, Liang Qian denied it. How could I tamper with your car? I like you so much. Third Master, I have liked you for so many years, even if I hurt myself, I will not hurt you. Liang Qian's resentment was spreading wildly, accompanied by fear. She hated and feared, and her nerves were tortured. It was not her who tampered with Shen Junqing's car, but someone she found. She was not there. They won't find out about her. Now they are deliberately deceiving her. It must be like this. Nan Yan said, love turns to hate, what a good reason. Liang Qian's face turned pale, her thoughts were said, and she angrily retorted, I didn't. Third Master didn't agree before, but it didn't stop me from pursuing him for so many years, don't slander me. Whether it is or not, you know it in your heart. Nan Yan was too lazy to argue with her. Third brother, do you have evidence? Of course. Shen Junqing smiled, Yan Yan, how do you want to deal with her? She has been kidnapped for you, whatever you want. It's easy to fake a car accident. Shen Junqing is not a good man, but he has always been a person who doesn't offend me. If it weren't for Nan Yan's high skills and luck, the two of them would have become 2 lonely ghosts. He wanted to kill Liang Qian very much. If you have evidence, just send it to the police station. Nan Yan didn't have such a strong desire to kill. It's intentional murder. Third brother, you can use your connections to let her spend the rest of her life in prison, okay? That's fine. Shen Junqing put his arm around Nan Yan's shoulders and said with emotion, sister, you are so kind. Liang Qian's eyes widened, listening to the two of them not caring about what she said, and sending her to prison for the rest of her life in a few words. Fear overwhelmed all hatred. It was not until now that she regretted it. No. I don't want to go to jail. Liang Qian begged, Third Master, I was wrong, please don't do this to me, I really didn't want to hurt you. When we were racing yesterday, I stopped you, but you insisted on going up. I just wanted her to die alone, and never thought of killing you. It's her, it's all because of her. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 105. Liang Qian thought that if she told Shen Junqing, she just wanted Nan Yan to disappear from this world, and she never thought about letting him die. He would give her a wide berth. As a result, Shen Junqing heard what she said and kicked her hard, if you want to kill me, I can still bear you. If you dare to kill my sister, you are seeking death. Liang Qian was in so much pain that she wanted to bend her body, but was restrained by the ropes on her body and couldn't move at all. She could only endure the severe pain. Shen Junqing's words shattered the last extravagant hope in her heart. Endless regret made her deeply repent for her previous vicious thoughts. But, it's too late. Shen Junqing became violent, not caring whether the other party was a woman or not, and kicked Liang Qian hard and hard, as if he was going to kick her to death. Seeing that he had no intention of stopping, Nan Yan reached out to hold him. "Third brother, that's enough. The beating was too severe. She will be sent to the police station soon. I think the police will take her to the hospital first." Shen Junqing then gave up, regained his anger, and returned to the elegance of a dissolute nobleman. He hooked Nan Yan's shoulders and gave a stern sneer. "Yan Yan, don't worry, she will spend her whole life in prison." "Well, that's fine." Liang Qian was taken away by the police in embarrassment, and the evidence that she used others to attack Shen Junqing's car was handed over to the police. The evidence and witnesses were conclusive, and she didn't even have a chance to appeal. She is suspected of intentional homicide. Coupled with Shen Junqing's words, she will not be able to have a good life in the rest of her life, even if she is in prison. Hashtag. Settle down. Nwao was in a very bad state, very emotional, fragile, and kept crying. Lulahua was coaxing her in her room, not daring to mention what happened at school. After finally putting her to sleep, Lulahua cautiously came out of her room. After she left, Nwao, who had been sleeping, opened her red and swollen eyes, with strong hatred bursting out of them. "Nanyan." She squeezed out the name through her teeth, her whole body tensed up, even her hands and feet were straining. Nan Yan, a bitch, dared to bully her like this. She would never let her have an easy time. The only thing that reassured her was that Lulahua believed in her unconditionally and stood by her side. So what if she says she did it? Lulahua didn't believe it at all, and would only become more disgusted with Nan Yan. She will never in her life want to take her place and be truly accepted by the An family. Hashtag. Lulahua came out of Nwao's room. Nyao King and Mulin were waiting for her in the living room. "How is Yao Yao? Is Yao Yao sleeping?" the father and son asked concernedly. "I just fell asleep." Lulahua pinched his eyebrows, his tone was a little tired, and then anger and resentment appeared in his eyes. "Yao Yao was bullied like this by Nan Yan this time. I will never admit it again. She is my daughter. I want to follow." She broke off the relationship. "What nonsense are you talking about? Nan Yan is our biological daughter." And Yao King frowned, obviously disagreeing. "Yao Yao is so good to her, look at how she bullies Yao Yao." Lulahua sounded a little excited. "Do you know that Nan Yan beat Yao Yao in front of me, hitting Yao Yao's face like that, and forced her to face so many teachers and push back all the bad things she had done? It's on Yao Yao. Yao Yao is so kind and has such a soft personality. After being bullied like this, she still defends her, but instead says sorry to her. I cannot stand it anymore." Lulahua pressed his chest, tears streaming down his face. "Seeing Yao Yao crying like that breaks my heart. I will never allow Nan Yan to bully my precious daughter again." And Yao King advised, "But we brought Nan Yan back just to allow her to marry other families in the future. Yao Yao is our princess, and we must not let her marry someone we don't like. Only Nanyan is suitable, so be the candidate for marriage. Of course he can't have two different feelings." Nwao was a good daughter he had doted on for 18 years, but Nan Yan was raised by vulgar country people for 16 years. She came back as a daughter who knew nothing but was embarrassed and unruly. Between the two daughters, the balance in his heart definitely favored Nwao. But he couldn't bear to part with Nan Yan, his beautiful daughter. Even if she is a vase, based on her conditions, someone will be willing to marry her home. And Mulin frowned, somewhat disapproving of Nyao King's desire to use Nanyan as a tool for marriage. "Dad, the An family has not yet reached the point where they need to sell their daughters to attract sponsorship." He didn't like Nan Yan, but after all, she was still his sister and shouldn't be treated like this. The eldest brother has very strong management skills and his company is doing better and better. Although the fourth brother has no intention of running a family business, he has also developed very well in the esports industry. With the An family and me and the second brother, our family business will become better and better. To grow bigger, there is no need for marriage. Lulahua was furious. Lao San, what do you mean? Do you feel sorry for Nan Yan? She is so clumsy, and you still regard her as your sister. And Mulan was speechless. It's not that I regard her as my sister, she is my sister. Lulahua's tone was sharp. Don't forget, last time in the office, she said personally that she is not your sister, and she does not regard you as a brother at all. I don't care, either we will sever ties with her, or we will bring her back, lock her up at home, and wait to find a match for her. Get her married as soon as possible. Mom, calm down first. And Mulan was a little confused. How could his mother, who had always been gentle and noble, become like this? Is this all Nan Yan's fault? On the surface, it does seem so. But every time, it was clearly Nan Yan who was provoked by them, and Nan Yan would show those disrespectful expressions. They didn't know what happened today, but she directly concluded that it was all Nan Yan's fault. This is unfair to her. I can't calm down. Lulahua's face was gloomy. This family can only have Yao Yao as a daughter. I will not admit that Nan Yan is my daughter. And Yao King said in a deep voice, okay, it's late today, take a rest first, and talk about it tomorrow. Third brother, take Yao Yao out to relax tomorrow and make her happy. You don't have to worry about other things. And Mulan was silent for a long time, and finally nodded, okay. Hashtag. After school that day, Nan Yan packed her school bag and was about to leave school when Qin Lu sent a text message. Is school over? Nan Yan, well, school is over. Is there anything for my brother? Qin Lu, come out, I'm at the school gate. Nan Yan was stunned for a moment, then replied, okay, I'll be there soon. She was about to go out. After putting her phone back, she picked up her school bag and left the classroom directly. At the school gate, Qin Lu stood outside the car waiting for Nan Yan. Her tall and graceful figure, her handsome face like a god, and her noble aura attracted many people to stop and watch. A brave girl sorted out her school group, walked in front of him with a shy smile on her face. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 106. When Nan Yan came out of school, she saw a beautiful girl, who was in front of Qin Lu with a wronged and helpless look on her face. Her tears were about to fall, and her mouth was opening and closing, still saying something. What's going on? Qin Lu couldn't possibly bully a little girl. But she was also curious about what this big guy was thinking, not waiting for her in the car, but deliberately standing outside the car at this time after school. Nan Yan raised her eyebrows and walked over there. As soon as she got close, she heard the emotionless and cold words of Big Boss Qin, get lost. The girl finally couldn't hold it anymore, covered her face and cried and ran away. Nan Yan. So cruel. When Nan Yan saw the end of this girl, she couldn't help but think of the scene when she broke into his room. At that time, Big Boss Qin didn't kick her out. Was it because he saw that she was too pitiful? Nan Yan didn't know what the boss was thinking at the time, and she didn't want to ask. She quickened her pace and walked over, chuckling, brother, what are you doing? Why are you so angry? The coldness in Qin Lu's eyes became a little warmer after seeing Nan Yan. He raised his chin at her and gestured, get in the car. Oh. Nan Yan turned the front of the car, opened the passenger door and got in the car. Qin Lu also got in the driver's seat. After fastening the seat belt, he raised his hand to loosen his tie, and looked at the little girl's well-behaved face, and his irritability was reduced. It's still pleasing to the eyes of children. The car left the school gate. Nan Yan tilted her head and said thoughtfully, "Brother, you were so fierce just now. You can say get out to such a beautiful girl, this is no longer a question of whether it's fierce or not." "She's too annoying." Qin Lu frowned slightly and explained, "I told her that she didn't need any help, but she still persisted in trying to chat up." Qin Lu didn't want to leave a fierce impression in the little guy's mind. But he did have a bad attitude just now. He hates women approaching him, and he hates women who don't know how to read people's eyes. Nan Yan's eyes flickered, and then she said softly and obediently, "Then next time, when brother comes to pick me up, don't get off the car. Brother, you must learn to protect yourself well when you are outside. After all, he has a face that is a disaster to the country and the people, and he is standing so conspicuously, it is obvious that he will be approached." Qin Lu felt that this little guy was implying him. But looking at her particularly well-behaved little face and her smiling face, she didn't have any temper. "Little girl, what do you want to eat later? Just let brother tell me, I'm not picky." Nan Yan smiled softly. "Qin Lu, okay. The little girl is really likable. Even if she said perfunctory words, this attitude is also likable." The car stopped outside a French restaurant. Nan Yan looked at her high school uniform, and then looked at Qin Lu's suit and leather shoes, and raised her eyebrows. The two of them looked like a parent, bringing a child to dinner. This discovery made her inexplicably unhappy. "Brother, you should let me go back and change clothes first." "Yeah," Qin Lu responded calmly. Then he bent over, pulled the seat belt that Nan Yan had just opened, and buckled it. As he pressed closer, the cold fragrance on his body rushed into her nose. Nan Yan couldn't help but stiffen. His breath enveloped her directly. His handsome face was within reach. From a close distance, his skin was really good, without even a pore. "I really want to kiss." Nan Yan was a little dazed by the beauty, and she lowered her head slightly, subconsciously wanting to get close. Fortunately, Qin Lu buckled the seat belt, and his body retreated the next second, and she came back to her senses and bit her lower lip in annoyance. Nan Yan's heartbeat accelerated after she realized it, and her cheeks were slightly hot. She licked the teeth mark she had just bitten and asked in a low voice, "Brother? Didn't you say you wanted to eat? Didn't you say you wanted to change clothes?" Qin Lu had already driven the car out again. "Go buy clothes." Nan Yan hurriedly said, "No need, brother, I was just talking casually. It's still early now, it's not too late to eat after buying clothes." Qin Lu held the steering wheel with one hand, tilted his head slightly, and saw her cheeks slightly flushed. He couldn't help but reach out and gently pinched her cheeks. "Little girl, why are you blushing? I was teased by you." Nan Yan only dared to think about this in her heart, but didn't dare to say it out loud. "I guess it's a little hot." She didn't know whether others were hot or not, anyway, she felt that she was a little hot. Her face was burning. "Do you need to turn on the air conditioner?" Nan Yan calmly replied, "No, just a little." Hashtag. The car was parked in the underground parking lot of the mall, and the two took the elevator directly to the floor where clothes were sold. On both sides were brand women's clothing stores. "What brand do you like?" It was the first time that Qin Lu accompanied a girl to buy clothes, so he didn't know much about the situation. Even he himself had never bought clothes before. Brother Qin's clothes were all privately ordered. Every quarter, a designer would come to his house to deliver samples. After he selected them, he would rush to make them and then send them to him. He had never bought clothes in a mall. Nan Yan looked around casually. "Any brand is fine." She thought of her previous experience and said casually, "I don't care about the brand. I just wear comfortable clothes. Even street stall goods are fine." The speaker is unintentional, but the listener is attentive. Qin Lu recalled that she had grown up in the countryside, in a family that favored boys over girls, and her food, clothing, and daily expenses were the worst. Later, she was taken back to the Yin family, but she was not favored, and the clothes she wore were all the leftovers of fake daughters. The little girl had suffered a lot of grievances. Qin Lu's eyes were a little more understanding, and he held Nan Yan's hand. "Let's go to this one." His palm was warm, while Nan Yan's hand was a little cold. The warmth and ironing made Nan Yan curl her fingers. She lowered her head slightly, watching him holding her hand, and a smile appeared on her lips. "Okay." The little girl's obedient appearance made people feel distressed and liked. It made people want to bring the best things in the world to her. Qin Lu was a little surprised at the idea that emerged in his mind, but he did not reject it. On the contrary, he wanted to do this. Qin Lu held her hand and entered the store. "Take out all the clothes that are suitable for the lady next to me." Nan Yan guessed what he meant and said quickly, "Don't bother so much, I'll choose a style and ask them to get the size that suits me." Qin Lu touched her head lovingly. "Choose a few more pieces, as a gift for you." Extra gift. The real gift prepared for her is in the car. He wanted to give it to him after dinner. "That's not necessary, there are too many clothes and I can't wear them all, it's a waste." Nan Yan didn't intend to compromise. "Miss Shopping Guide, don't listen to him, just take the one worn by the model at the door and give me a size S." "Okay, Miss." The shopping guide responded with a smile, then secretly glanced at Qin Lu and whispered, "Miss, your boyfriend really dotes on you." Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 107. Nan Yan heard the saleslady's words, raised her beautiful eyebrows, glanced at Qin Lu, and chuckled. "It's natural for a boyfriend to pamper his girlfriend, isn't it?" Qin Lu looked at her smiling face, her soft words, and her deep eyes, which instantly turned a darker color. Boyfriend, girlfriend. Very good titles. The saleslady nodded repeatedly, and couldn't help but secretly look at the two of them. The man was wearing a suit and leather shoes, and he looked like an elite who had already entered society, but he looked only about 24 or 25 years old. The girl in school uniform looked 18 or 19 years old, but the two of them standing together were really a good match. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful, and they were both nurturing, and the saleslady's eyes were full of stars. The clothes were brought over, and Nan Yan went to the fitting room to change. The saleslady in the store was discerning, and they could see that Qin Lu didn't like being approached, so they controlled themselves and didn't get close, but admired from a distance. This kind of man is indeed only suitable for viewing from a distance. If the distance is too close, he will be shocked and dare not even breathe. Not long after, Nan Yan came out after changing her clothes. The ash gray off-shoulder dress looked simple, but it was very elegant when she wore it. Nan Yan was beautiful to begin with. She couldn't hide her natural beauty even in school uniforms, and she looked very good even without makeup. Her skin was so perfect that not even a pore could be seen. Her lips were red and her teeth were white, and her whole body exuded a high-level beauty. "Oh my God, this dress seems to be designed specifically for Miss. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. Miss, your skin is really good. I'm so envious." A group of shopping guides surrounded Nan Yan, and their mobile phones were controlling them to jump out with amazement and envy. This was not flattery to please customers, but came from the heart. In fact, Nan Yan's beauty had conquered them as women. Nan Yan smiled at the shopping guide, then walked gracefully to Qin Lu, and turned around in place coquettishly. "Brother, does it look good?" "It looks good." Qin Lu's voice was a little heavy. Since she came out, he has never taken his eyes off her. Those ink-black eyes were dark and deep, almost devoid of light, flickering like the abyss. The height advantage allowed him to look down at her well-developed body curves. Little girl, so attractive. He suppressed his slightly accelerated heartbeat, looked away, and reached out to her head. His fair and slender hands with distinct joints carefully helped her untie her long hair that was tied into a ponytail. The black hair slid down like a waterfall, covering her round shoulders. His slightly cool fingertips gently fiddled with her head, smoothing out the messy hair. "This way, you don't look like a child anymore." A low and magnetic voice slowly sounded above her head, like a low-pitched cello, stirring people's hearts. His fingertips followed the hair and hooked it to her chin, gently lifted it, and the dark and thick ink-colored eyes reflected the girl's slightly stunned face. The voice was both sweet and seductive, and he spoke in a low and rogue voice, "Yan Yan is so beautiful." Nan Yan's face turned red uncontrollably. The fingers hanging by her side unconsciously grabbed the hem of her skirt. Her heart was beating in a panic, and there was an impulse that kept stirring in her chest. Who could resist this? She wanted to pounce on him. Should she pounce? This dog man always flirted with her, was he doing it on purpose? "Brother." Nan Yan boldly reached out and grabbed the clothes around his waist. The posture of the two people seemed to be kissing in the eyes of the shopping guide. A group of starry-eyed shopping guides almost wanted to cover their mouths and scream. "Huh? What's wrong?" Qin Lu's voice was light and seductive, and the delicate touch of his fingertips made him love it, rubbing it carefully, and reluctant to let go. "If you don't let go, I will kiss you." Gurgle. The words that came to his mouth were interrupted by the sound coming from his stomach. Nan Yan's slightly red cheeks suddenly turned red. She lowered her head in shame and anger, and buried her head on Qin Lu's shoulder. "This is too embarrassing." "Are you starving?" Qin Lu raised the corner of his mouth, and then quickly pressed it down. He held her shoulder with his hand, making his tone sound like he didn't mean to laugh at her. "It's my brother's fault. It took too long. Let's go eat now." After saying that, he patted her on the back gently. "Do you want to stand up first? Or do you want your brother to carry you?" Nan Yan stood up quickly. Although her pretty face was covered with a layer of blush, she was very calm. "I can walk by myself." "Okay." Qin Lu rubbed her head with his big hand, and then went to check out. The little girl didn't want anything else, just this skirt. After paying, the shopping guide put Nan Yan's school uniform on and handed it to her with both hands. He sent the two to the door of the store, bent down and said, "Welcome to visit next time." Hashtag. Qin Lu and Nan Yan came out of the clothing store and walked directly to the elevator. Not far from them, Nwao gritted her teeth and looked at Nan Yan's back sinisterly. "Yao Yao, what's wrong?" And Mulan didn't recognize Nan Yan, but suddenly noticed that Nwao's emotions became excited, and asked with concern. "Nothing." Nwao suppressed the hatred in her heart, took Mulan's hand and turned to walk to another clothing store. "Second brother, let's go to this store to see if there are any new clothes." "Well, as long as you like it, second brother will buy it for you." And Mulan was asked by Lulahua to accompany Nwao out for shopping. Of course, this was also because he really felt sorry for her and couldn't bear to see her staying in her room all day, so he brought her out. Nwao smiled with emotion. "Second brother is still good to Yao Yao." And Mulan joked, if the eldest brother and the third brother heard this, they would be sad. "Then second brother, don't tell the eldest brother and the third brother." Nwao smiled and leaned on Mulan's arm, lowering her eyes to hide the malice in her eyes. She would never let Nan Yan continue to be so happy. She won't be proud for long. Hashtag. After eating at the French restaurant before, Nan Yan was taken home by Qin Lu. "Little friend, come here with me first." Qin Lu was talking about the room he bought for Madame Qin before. The old lady has returned to the imperial capital now, and this room is empty. For some reason, Qin Lu brought all the things he needed for work here this time, intending to live here. The manager of the Landis Hotel was almost frightened by his action. He thought that they were not taking good care of him and made Mr. Qin angry, So he refused to stay in the hotel. After all, when Mr. Qin went on a business trip, no matter which city he went to, he would stay in his own hotel, but this time was an exception. In fact, only Qin Lu himself knew that he would stay here just because Nan Yan was here. The two suites were opposite each other. Nan Yan nodded and followed him obediently. Qin Lu opened the password lock, and when he was about to push the door open, he suddenly turned around and said, "Little friend, can you close your eyes?" Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 108. Nan Yan felt that this was very childish. But after hearing what Qin Lu said, she nodded in agreement, okay. After that, she closed her eyes obediently. Qin Lu pushed open the door, fearing that Nan Yan would bump into the door frame with her eyes closed, so he took her hand and led her in. He turned on the light switch and adjusted the light to warm orange. Then, he took the girl to the middle of the living room, took her hand, and placed it on something. Nan Yan felt the hard coldness and her fingertips shrank. In the absence of sight, she instinctively wanted to move her hand away. If Qin Lu's hand had not covered her palm, she might have really done so. But because she believed that Qin Lu would not hurt her, she suppressed her uneasiness about the unknown, trusted him wholeheartedly, and let him guide her to touch the thing in his hand. This is a very round sphere, and it is also very large, about 60 centimeters in diameter and about 1.2 meters high. Touching it with closed eyes, it is really hard to imagine what this thing would be. "Brother, can you open your eyes?" "Yes." A low and pleasant voice sounded in her ears. After getting permission, Nan Yan fluttered her long eyelashes and slowly opened her eyes. Under the warm orange light, a huge crystal ball was placed in front of her. There is a miniature fairy tale world in the crystal ball. A beautiful palace, a handsome prince riding a white horse and carrying a sword, a princess with gorgeous clothes and exquisite makeup, a little white rabbit hiding in the grass, and a red koi emerging from the water in the pond. And the crystal ball has two layers, one world on the top and another world below. When you turn the crystal ball over, there will be fluttering snowflakes, slowly falling, covering that world with a layer of white. "Little friend, do you like this gift?" Qin Lu tilted his head and looked at the girl's expression. But the girl's expression was too restrained, and her emotions could not be seen from the surface. There was no way, he had to ask. It was also the first time he gave a girl a gift, and he asked Wu Yu and many people before he thought of giving her a fairy tale world. She had a bad childhood, she was not loved or liked by others. He wanted to use this method to make up for the void in her childhood. "I like it very much." Nan Yan's little hand was still on the crystal ball, her eyes were fixed on the small and beautiful fairy tale world inside, and her heart seemed to be suddenly filled. "I like it very much," she repeated it again, turned around, and smiled gratefully at him. "Thank you, brother." Qin Lu's gift touched her heart. Whether it was the original owner or her, they were people without childhood. Although she is no longer sad now, some sadness and pain hidden deep in her heart will always come out from time to time in the dead of night and prick her. She felt that her heart was partially healed. Qin Lu stared at her with his dark eyes, and his voice was gentle. "I like it, it's worth it for my brother to choose it for so long." After choosing it, he asked someone to air freight it here and move it upstairs. He spent a lot of time to install it himself. While installing it here in the afternoon, he complained about his childishness while installing it. Now that he heard her say "I like it," Qin Lu felt that it was worth it. "But it's so big, how can I move it to my place?" Nan Yan really likes this crystal ball. She wants to put it in her bedroom. But looking at this big guy, she is a little worried. "It must be heavy." Qin Lu explained, "There are hidden wheels in the bracket below, which makes it easy to move. Yan Yan, go open the door, and I will help you push it over." "Okay." Hashtag. Not long after, the two moved the crystal ball from this house to Nan Yan's bedroom. It was placed at the end of the bed by the window. Nan Yan looked at the big crystal ball at the end of the bed with satisfaction, took a photo, and posted a message on WeChat Moments. She rarely posts things on WeChat Moments, and rarely reveals her personal situation. But the surprise of receiving a gift made her want to find someone to share the joy. She doesn't have many friends on WeChat. In total, there are only a dozen. Soon, a group of comments appeared below. Shenjunking, sister, this crystal ball is so beautiful. Anziran, Yan Yan, wait until the game is over, and your fourth brother will take you to Disneyland. Tao Qingming, what is this? Linzian, ah, Yan Yan, you actually posted it on WeChat Moments. Chen Yanzao, I don't know what to say, just give it a thumbs up. Old Lady Qin, Yan Yan, Grandma misses you so much. Nan Yan's phone kept ringing, she opened her friends list and patiently replied to them. Qin Lu raised his eyebrows and took out his phone. Then he saw the photo she posted on WeChat Moments. Little girl, she really likes this gift. It's so easy to satisfy, it seems that he should be more careful in the future and not be fooled away by others. Looking at Shen Junking's message under the photo, Qin Lu's eyes showed a hint of playfulness, and he clicked on him to reply, it looks good, I gave it to you. After he posted it, Nan Yan's side was naturally displayed synchronously. Nan Yan looked at his reply and looked up at the boss Qin across from him speechlessly. The two brothers met and wanted to fight each other? Sure enough, the next second, Shen Junking replied, Mr. Qin, are you childish? Shen Junking was also speechless. Giving a crystal ball to my sister, what's so proud about it? And showing off to him. He also gave a gift to Yanyan last time. Then he remembered that the last time he gave Yanyan a gift, Yanyan didn't post it on WeChat Moments. Shen Junking immediately went to privately chat with Nanyan, sister, why didn't you post the gift I gave you last time? Qin Lu, that bastard, gave it to her, but she posted it. He felt very unbalanced. Nanyan replied, I forgot last time. It's not that she forgot, but she didn't plan to post it at all. The gift Shen Junking gave her didn't touch her heart, and didn't bring her too strong emotional fluctuations. Shen Junking, Tat. Shen Junking, sister, do you really like the crystal ball Qin Lu, that bastard, gave you? In his opinion, Nanyan's personality is very mature, and she has nothing to do with such childish things. He has every reason to suspect that Qin Lu, that bastard, forced Nanyan to post this on WeChat Moments. Nanyan, I like it, my brother gave me a childhood, how can I not like it? Shen Junking. Damn. He realized that Nanyan's life was not good before, and it can be said that she lived a miserable life. Her childhood was not cared for, not loved, only beaten and scolded, which must have caused great harm to her heart. Qin Lu's gift is indeed more to Nanyan's liking than those he gave. Thinking of this, Shen Junking turned out Qin Lu's avatar and angrily sent 2 words, scheming, shameless. Qin Lu, are you sick? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 109. Shen Junking, you are the one who is sick. Shen Junking, shameless person who deceives an ignorant girl. Qin Lu raised his eyes and glanced at the little guy who was sitting quietly by the bed replying to the message. With a slight movement of his fingertips, he sent a message to defeat the enemy, Third Master Shen, Yanyan is my girlfriend. Depend on. Shen Junking suddenly scratched his hair. He actually forgot. Qin Lu, this bitch, has already attacked his sister Yanyan. Shen Junking, beast. Qin Lu looked at the message from Shen Junking, his eyes turned cold, and he blocked him directly. Shen Junqing wanted to send him a message, but when she saw the red exclamation mark, her face darkened. That bitch Qin Lu actually blocked him. This is really too much. The angry third young master Shen turned around and complained to Nan Yan, "Sister, don't be deceived by that bitch Qin Lu, he is too scheming and you are no match for him, you must open your eyes to see his true nature clearly, okay?" Nan Yan. These two wouldn't fight each other in private, and then Shen Junqing didn't fight boss Qin, right? Shen Junqing, sister, let me tell you, don't be fooled by his face, he is not a good person. Shen Junqing, you are still young and can't tell the difference, so don't let your imagination run wild and fall into the dog man's trap. Nan Yan looked at the messages sent by Shen Junqing one after another, and asked thoughtfully, "Brother, why are you Miss Shen?" "Block him," Qin Lu replied calmly. Nan Yan finally understood why Shen Junqing was so angry. Shen Junqing had fallen behind Qin Lu and came to her to increase her presence. Hashtag. It was 9 o'clock in the evening. It was getting late. Qin Lu told Nan Yan to go to bed early and then returned there. After Nan Yan washed up, she sat on the end of the bed and gently stroked her hand on the crystal ball. The look in his eyes was a little warmer and softer. Then she flipped the switch, causing the crystal ball to flip over. The snowflakes that ran from the bottom to the top fell down, covering the fairy tale world below with a layer of white. How beautiful! Hashtag. The next day, it was Qin Lu who sent her to school again. At the school gate, Nan Yan got off the bus. Qin Lu said warmly, "Kid, I'll pick you up after school in the afternoon." Okay, Nan Yan agreed obediently, then waved to him with a smile, "Brother, please slow down on the road." Qin Lu curled his lips, obviously in a good mood. The car returned to the road. Before it could go far, the phone rang. Shen Junqing. "Master Qin, if you have time, can we meet?" The loose and gorgeous tone didn't have any of the animosity that he had when he sent the message last night. "Well, at noon, you decide the address." "Okay, I'll send it to you later." Shen Junqing suppressed a smile of unknown meaning. He doesn't agree to deceive Yan Yan. He must let Yan Yan see his true face as soon as possible. Break up with him quickly. Hashtag. The teacher who came to teach grade 2 and grade 4 today was very surprised. Everyone left the classroom with a smile on their face. After returning to the office, I couldn't help but praise the changes in class 2 and class 4 to other teachers. The results were announced yesterday, and it proved that Nan Yan relied on her own strength to get the first place in the grade. The learning status of class 2 and class 4 in high school changed overnight. Those who used to sleep in class no longer sleep, and those who used to play games in class no longer play games. Each and every one of them, as if they were given a shot of chicken blood, even if they couldn't understand, they would try their best to look at the blackboard and take notes. It seems that Nan Yan's guiding role is very obvious. If this is the case, the scores of class 2 and class 4 will definitely improve a lot in this final exam. The dean is very happy. The head teacher also nodded, "Yes, I'm afraid it won't last long." Although she didn't quite understand why after Nan Yan passed the exam, everyone else in the class followed suit and started studying hard. But this is a good change. I really hope it can last longer. The dean said with a smile, "Yuxiao, have you ever thought about letting Nan Yan be the monitor?" Class teacher Yu was stunned, "Is this, okay? If you don't try, how will you know if it will work?" The head teacher looked mysterious. "Anyway, I am very optimistic about Nan Yan and think she is a capable person. How can I not have the strength? It has only been just over half a month, look at how many surprises she has given him. He is good at computers and medicine, and his academic performance is incredible. He had a hunch that in the next college entrance examination, theirs high school might be ranked among the top 3 in the country." The dean secretly decided to train Nan Yan well. Don't let her talents go to waste. Class teacher, you nodded, then I'll think about it. Hashtag. In class, between classes. Several boys were holding books and gathered around Nan Yan. Boss, please tell me about this question. No time, Nan Yan refused expressionlessly. She didn't know why, but this group of people suddenly changed their temperament and became eager to learn. Then he became bolder and dared to come to her with questions. She didn't have much favorable impression of them. On the contrary, she hated them. But as if these people couldn't see her boredom, they all approached her without fear of death. The monitor, Gu Yuhao, suddenly pressed down on her book. Nan Yan looked at him dangerously with her cold eyes. Under great pressure, Gu Yuhao gritted his teeth and said loudly, "Boss, it was our fault before. We didn't recognize the great man and did a lot of things that let you down. We swear that we will definitely follow your lead and recognize you as the boss in the future. We are not just talking. You will be our boss in the future. We will do whatever you ask us to do." Nan Yan tilted her head carelessly and said coldly, "What if I let you die?" Gu Yuhao. This is beyond the scope. According to their thinking, Nan Yan should be moved to accept them as his younger brothers after hearing these words, and he will be their boss in the future. Why, from her mouth, would she say such cold and horrible words? "I can't do it." Nan Yan twirled the pen on her fingertips, with sarcasm in her eyes. "Then don't say such big words. Learn to be a good person first, it's better than these empty words." "Boss, we..." "Pa." Nan Yan put the pen on the table, her eyes were cold and ruthless. "I'm not your boss, don't call me like that anymore. It's good for us to live in peace and not to interfere with each other. Don't think about those things." A group of boys looked depressed. Just like a defeated rooster, they returned to their seats in silence. The girls in the class looked at this scene, their expressions were a little difficult to understand. But they also understood that Nan Yan's status in their class was very different from before. They definitely didn't dare to offend her again, so they stayed away from her in the future. The classroom was silent for a few minutes, and suddenly a classmate stood up. "Boss, I will prove my determination with my actions and work hard to get your approval." Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 110. Following his expression, several boys also expressed their opinions. Nan Yan is so outstanding. Not only is she good at studying, playing games, and has strong computer skills, she is also so good at beating people. They were already impressed by her. The boss yelled without any reluctance. On the contrary, because of Nan Yan's refusal to let them call her boss, she felt a little sad. Nan Yan was quite speechless at their perseverance. Whatever. Anyway, this was just their own random barking, and she didn't approve of it. Hashtag. In the afternoon, Nanyan went to the computer classroom. Yin Yuchen, who was punished by her yesterday, was very honest today. He didn't even dare to look at her. Nan Yan was very indifferent and did not go to see them. He completed his training by himself. Although these trainings are nothing more than child's play to her, in order to take care of the progress of the other 4 people, Zhang Qiaoyang can only set tasks according to their abilities. Besides, with Nanyan's strength, there is no need for any additional training. So Zhang Qiaoyuan was almost laissez-faire towards her and followed her own preferences. When school was over in the afternoon, Zhang Qianqian called her. "Classmate Nanyan, I have some things to do in the next few days. Can you please help me finish class?" Nan Yan looked at him and slowly said. "No." Nan Yan turned back. "Teacher Zhang, aren't there other computer teachers in our school? What's the point of asking her to teach as a substitute?" "Student Nan Yan, I think based on your ability, your substitute teaching effect should be no worse than other computer teachers, or even better. Besides, you will go to competitions together in the future. As the team leader, you can better understand their situation. Classmate Nanyan, it's only for a few days, I'll leave it to you. Nanyan. Yes, this doesn't give her a chance to refuse at all. Nanyan pinched her eyebrows and agreed, okay, I hope Teacher Zhang will finish your work soon. Don't worry, I won't take too long. Then the four of them will trouble you in the next few days. Now, it's really like taking care of a child. Hashtag. The gate of Zhide High School. A pair of middle-aged men and women who looked very shabbily dressed were craning their necks to look inside the school from time to time. Why haven't you come out yet? Isn't school already over? Nan Hongyang muttered impatiently. Li Shifen, who was standing next to him, patiently advised, wait a little longer, maybe she came out later. The two people stood in the most conspicuous place at the door, where they also had the best view. From here you can clearly see everyone coming out of the school gate. The students coming and going couldn't help but take a few more glances when they saw two people who should not be here at all appearing outside the noble school. I don't know which student's poor relative he is, I guess he's here to set up a relationship. Looking at the shabby way they dress, the family must be very poor. They stink so much, it's disgusting. Even so, I don't know which family is so pitiful that they are cared about by poor relatives. The sarcasm of the rich children reached the ears of Nan Hongyang and Li Shifen, and their expressions did not change. Anyway, they are thick-skinned enough and don't care about these gossips at all. As long as they meet Nanyan soon, take her back to the countryside, find her an in-law's family there and marry her, they can move to the city and live a good life in the future. My biological daughter is still thinking of them. Unlike this dead girl, she returned to the city and never thought that they were still suffering in the countryside. I raised her for 16 years in vain. What a white-eyed wolf! Nan Hongyang and Li Shifen stared at the door eagerly. Finally, I saw Nanyan coming out of school. But when they first saw Nanyan now, the two of them almost didn't recognize him. Is this really Nanyan? Nan Hongyang's eyes widened in disbelief. It seems to be her, Li Shifen also muttered a little. Really, Nanyan has changed too much. When I was in the country, I was thin and poor. I was tired from the heavy housework and looked sallow and lethargic. I also had a severe low self-esteem and had thick bangs, which was not good looking at all. But now, Nanyan has accepted the body of the original owner, and this body has been raised in the Yan family for another 2 years. Even though the original owner was not taken seriously, she was well fed, clothed, and warm, and no longer had to do so much housework and farm work. Her rough skin was made tender and tender. With the blessing of Nanyan's soul, it was as if he had been reborn, from a clown duck with low self-esteem to a dazzling white swan. It's not easy to identify her. Nanyan. Nan Hongyang shouted loudly. When Nanyan heard someone calling her, she subconsciously raised her head. That's her. Nan Hongyang was now sure that she was Nanyan. He and Li Shifen looked at each other and strode towards her together. Nanyan looked at the two people and didn't recognize them for a while. The memory of the original owner had little impact on her. Most of the time, that memory was suppressed in the depths of her mind. But soon, she sensed it. These are the adoptive parents of the original owner who favored sons over daughters. The original owner suffered no less when he was around them. Even the original owner's cowardly and humble character was developed because of them. In this case, she should add these two people to the original owner's account. Is there something wrong? Nanyan's eyebrows were bright, with a cold smile, and her beautiful peach blossom eyes were cold and wild, reflecting a hint of unruly danger. Nan Hongyang did not see the danger in her eyes, and reached out to grab her. Go back with us. Li Shifen stood on the other side of her, trying to grab her skull bag. Nanyan easily grabbed Li Shifen and pushed her to the hand that Nan Hongyang stretched out. Nan Hongyang grabbed Li Shifen's arm directly, and she screamed ouch. It can be seen how much strength he used in his hands. Nan Yan, you dead girl dare to hide. Nan Hongyang was furious, pushed Li Shifen to the side, and wanted to rush up to hit her. What is the relationship between these two country folks and our new school beauty? Country folks are country folks, too rude. Could these be the adoptive parents of the new school beauty? Maybe, the new school beauty grew up in the countryside. The students next to them were whispering. But they all looked at the scene indifferently, and no one wanted to help. This time, Nan Yan didn't hide, but grabbed his arm directly, used force in his hand to remove his arm, raised his leg and kicked him on the knee, and he knelt directly on the ground. Ah, Nan Honjiang's facial features were distorted in pain, and he hugged his arm with tears and snot. When Li Shifen saw this scene, she slapped her thigh and sat on the ground and howled. Come and see, the daughter beat her parents. All of you come and judge.